Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second Wrestler's Journey episode here at the Hot Dog and Handshake Pro Wrestling Show. The idea behind this series is that whenever one of the all-time great first ballot Hall of Famers retires, we'll do a special episode encapsulating their whole career. And the concept is very loosely based on the hero's journey. I kind of explained that in our first episode. We kind of started there, got to this. For the purposes of this exercise, we broke down the wrestler's career into 13 major milestones, not necessarily always in this order. We have the debut, mid card establishment, first main event opportunity, main event establishment, the defining turn, encountering the great rival, climax of the great rivalry, finishing the great rivalry, low point, apex mountain, reinvention, redemption, and finale. For the second episode, we are looking at a revolutionary who, in the ashes of WCW, put a company on his back and made it a staple. You may know him as the face that runs the place, Mr. TNA, or a pillar of the gay community. He is a former NWA Wildside Heavyweight Champion, 3-time NWA World Television Champion, 4-time NWA World Tag Team Champion, a Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion, Ring of Honor Pure Champion, WWE Raw Tag Team Champion, WWE World Tag Team Champion, 3-time WWE United States Champion, WWE Intercontinental Champion, Rev Pro Undisputed British Heavyweight Champion, PWG World Champion, TNA Television Champion, TNA Legends Champion, 2-time TNA World Tag Team Champion, 6-time TNA X Division Champion, IWGP Heavyweight Champion, 2-time WWE Champion, 3-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and of course a 2-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Now, it's time for me to pass the hosting baton to a man who grew up on the streets of total nonstop action, my co-host Shane Price. Shane, how you doing this week?
That interesting line there, I'll be honest. The rough and tumble streets of total nonstop action impact where you never knew where you're going to get week after week.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I'm all right. Okay. We're here talking about one of the best ever, in my opinion, especially as a kid, like growing up with the phenomenal one. I bought the fucking video game of TNA because he's on the cover, which says something about how, as a kid, how awesome AJ Styles was to see, even though that game was not very good.
Mm-hmm.
Looks great. Looks awesome. Not very good.
Yeah.
So let's get it without any further ado. We're going to start at the very beginning of AJ Styles' TV career with a trip to the land of WCW Thunder.
Yep. Shane's favorite place.
Thankfully for Jayden, this episode of Thunder starts with AJ Styles.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to scroll through and see whatever the hell was on 2001 WCW.
Vince Russo and Disco Inferno were up to that week.
Well, 2001 WCW is kind of really regarded as like they had something going for it. And speaking of something going for it, this match kind of really shows that. We're going to start with Air Raid, which is AJ Styles, Air Paris, take on the weird team of JB Noble and Evan Courageous. Winner, it's like a Super Brawl match where the winners will advance on to a cruiserweight contender match.
Yeah,
Super Brawl.
Yeah, something like that.
It's kind of like Battle Bowl but worse.
Yep.
So the first person we see on this episode of Thunder after the very weird for WCW Slayer intro to Thunder that they had in the final days of Thunder is AJ Styles. And much like the Cena Wrestle Journey, I'm going to start with a couple of things. His theme song, I swear to God, it doesn't even change from the first team to the second team.
I didn't notice that.
Which is a really bad dubbing or
entrances for this, but I don't remember. Yeah.
And the gear and the look. This is very much like I loaded into a PS2 wrestling game, hit create a wrestler, and picked like template 3. It's very basic. It's very There's no like flash. There's not even like the necklace that he had in TNA or the same kind of gear. It's very just like the template of AJ Styles.
Well, it's kind of like I'm trying to build AJ Styles in SmackDown versus Raw,
I said the
and I'm
same
not.
exact thing in my.
Yeah, like I'm not very good at it, so it's just kind of a rough estimation of AJ Styles.
I said the exact same thing in mine. I said it feels like I'm making AJ Styles as a kid in WWE games.
Yeah.
Um, the way he wrestles is very similar to later matches we'll see in this, the first couple ones after this.
I mean
So there's
that
something
really
there.
goes. Yeah, that really goes with my one of my notes here. Very similar to Cena, you can see the fundamentals that never change. Like if he was wrestling in a mask and a full bodysuit, there are moments where you could tell like this is AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Like that's something I kind of noticed. Yeah.
Which brings me to this, as I said, I thought the match was pretty good for 2001 WCW,
Yeah.
especially how young AJ and Air Paris were. But
Well, I think
also
this is
a
kind of
little,
like a proto WWE Cruiserweight division, TNA X division. You know, a lot of that, those two come out of what WCW was doing towards the end there. So yeah.
but I would like to say that being given Jamie Noble on your TV debut is a wonderful gift for AJ Styles. Jamie Noble is one of the best dance partners, extremely underrated wrestler. We give him his flowers every time we can, pretty much. But as we talked about, the fundamentals are there, everything is there. But what did you really see coming out of this AJ fresh out of NWA Wildside?
Well, like I said, you could really see the fundamentals of what he'll become. I also something I noticed. This isn't really an AJ note, but Air Paris just throws a casual super kick in this match, which is kind of important for some of my later notes. But what sprung to me really is how poetic it is that we start here with the WCW Cruiserweight division. Because just as I did on the Cena episode, I have a theme that I'm going to kind of establish and talk about through the episode. And for me, it's that AJ Styles is the face of a revolution. What I kind of called here the American wrestling small guy revolution. Obviously, small guys worked well in Japan and Mexico, but he's really a part of this. And of course, you can trace it back further to Shawn Michaels, 1-2-3 Kid, Flying Brian Pillman. Like you can go farther back. But for me, it really starts with the WCW Cruiserweight division, bringing in like Ray and Eddie and Jericho and these kind of guys. And so for him to really hit our TVs in the dying days of the WCW Cruiserweight division, I think is really interesting for where he will go with the X division and just for establishing a lane for people like the cruiserweights.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
mean,
I had here.
I agree with you that we're really seeing something that just wasn't in WWE past 1997. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Vince did not like the small guys. He put
No, he didn't.
Taka Michinoku and um, the Great Sasuke on TV for just to get back at WCW for no other reason. That's all he did. Is WCW had it, he wanted to have it.
Think about even Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, arguably the best wrestler in WWE history, arguably one of the best, the best wrestler ever. Even I would accept that argument. But even with Shawn, he paired him with Diesel first. He didn't give him his first real big singles push until he had him with a big guy first. He was
And this is
very
a trend for Vince. I mean,
yeah.
Chris Jericho, Mr. Hughes, AJ, and Omos.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like for real, like a smaller guy, he didn't. Rey Mysterio didn't win a world title until like the year after he was teaming with Batista. It's almost like he needs like a big guy to give the little guy a rub before he puts the rocket on him. Which outside of wrestling, that's a crazy sentence I just said. But
we're going to move on now to the mid-card establishment. I'm not even gonna react to what you just said. Happy late transgender day of visibility, by the way.
Yep.
Next is, of course, as I said before, the mid-card establishment. We are going to the second episode of TNA, the second weekly pay-per-view, the Asylum Era, live from the Nashville Fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee. He takes on Jerry Lynn, Psychosis, and Loki, I believe, for what is one of the first X Division style matches for the title.
Yes, this is the first X Division Championship match. Again, Psychosis kind of plays into the cruiserweight thing I was just talking about. Yeah, that was for the X Division title.
So before we get into the match, this is, I think, a very 180 from how the episode of Thunder started with AJ Styles and no shenanigans, and we would have to sit through if we wanted to watch the whole thing. This one, I just went to the cage match of NWA Total and TNA 2. I don't know if you ever been looked at that card. I'm gonna give
I
you
was
a
on the
couple of
page,
names.
but I didn't look through the whole card. I was definitely on the page for this, but I didn't look through the whole card.
Toby Keith, Cheeks, Hermie Sadler, Sterling Marlin.
Wait, okay, so
Toby Keith, Lingerie Battle Royale.
So Toby Keith, like the country singer?
Yeah, Toby Keith, the country singer. Hermie Sadler and Sterling Marlin, the NASCAR drivers, and Cheeks, the single biggest dude I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, no. When I watched for all the TNA ones, I watched them on TNA Plus, and I just kind of fast forwarded through to this, so I wasn't even really paying attention to what was going on before this.
Understandable. We should totally do the Cheeks wrestling. Okay.
Cheeks wrestling journey. What is this? A Jey Uso podcast? Got him.
To the match in question here. It is a 4-way double elimination match.
Yeah, awesome concept, by the way.
TNA really just threw things at the wall, threw darts at a dartboard, and whatever it hit, they did. King of the Mountain, double elimination, reverse battle royale. It was all to get attention, and they should have done this more often because it worked.
It did. The very end when it's Jerry Lynn and AJ Styles, and I think Jerry Lynn hasn't lost yet, so AJ has to beat him twice without losing once. That whole segment of the match felt like it would have fit in perfectly on like an AEW pay-per-view, by the way. That is a compliment to AJ Styles, but also Jerry Lynn was like almost 30 years ahead of his time. He was insane.
I mean, these 4 guys really were the AEW guys of 20 years before AEW was a thing. Mm-hmm. You know, AJ still very much like a creator wrestler. Mm-hmm. A little more like personality, I guess, but definitely still generic looking.
Yeah, I mean, it's only like a year, like a year and a half later. So yeah.
Yeah, but looking at the other guys, like Psychosis is well traveled.
Mm-hmm.
WWE Cruiserweight champion in the past. He's and Luchador Libre legend. Goes back to Mexico after this because Nicho de Millionario. That's a guy who you would probably see in AEW today if it was 2022. Low key is the stiffest motherfucker back then.
TNA had originally had the same thesis as AEW. Like they had the same idea. It's just a very different way in how it was managed and executed. Like I wouldn't be shocked if you could draw a lot of similarities between the first few AEW pay-per-views and first, so many episodes of Dynamite and early NWA TNA. because they kind of come from the same idea of trying to compete with WWE. It's just a difference in how they were managed in, just era also. But yeah. And on that point, the X division really picked up where WCW's cruiserweights left off to me, and AJ, of course, was the face of that. I know in the bigger picture he becomes the face of TNA, but I think this is what really matters to his legacy. He was the first face of the division that let guys like Christopher Daniels, Petey Williams, Chris Sabin, and Alex Shelley break out and also revolutionize a style of wrestling that let guys like Seth Rollins, the Young Bucks, hence the super kick earlier, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, so many other stars of today become the stars they are because of the X division, I think. And this match is
look who's held this the X division title. We have Chris Sabin, we have Kazarian, the Amazing Red. This is all the early guys too. Jay Lethal, Davari, Alex Shelley. So this title for a long time was like the most fun title, especially the Samoa Joe era.
Yeah. And this match is like where AJ Styles, wrong, too many AJs in wrestling, I guess. AJ Styles declares himself the face of the Revolution. And like, although pretty quickly he'll be moving into the main event scene, like he always kind of carries the flag of X division with him, I think, in the way he wrestles and in just being a smaller guy who rockets up to the world champion status in several different major promotions.
Yeah, I mean, here the stylized, at least you see it's not too long since the last one, so it's roughly the same, but he definitely has, I guess, not matured, but seeing who he's working with is higher caliber of wrestlers. You can tell he's making that move up.
Yeah, more reps, more experience, just kind of working his way through. Yeah,
which will bring us to the next match up. It is the first main event opportunity. We are heading to NWA TNA 33, the 33rd weekly pay-per-view. And this is the first time you get that chance, that opportunity to hold one of the most prestigious titles in professional wrestling. At some point in the 70s, 80s, everybody wanted to have this title. This is the title. How many people, especially this early on in your career, are given this kind of an opportunity? Nobody gets to that. The true legends of the sport this early can get to it. This is AJ Styles versus Jeff Jarrett for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah. And while he is great in this match, the style and the overbooking of this match really paints more of a picture of Jeff Jarrett and TNA as a whole than it does AJ Styles to me. And that's sort of poetic for AJ. The company was always saying, yes, we'll get behind you, we'll push you to the moon, but you're not going to escape the TNA DNA, which honestly makes it so much more impressive that AJ made the name for himself that he did and really broke out of TNA. Because as we go through his time in TNA, it is so much overbooked crap and shitty storylines, and it just keeps getting worse for them. You know what I mean? TNA has been on a pretty steady downhill almost. Since the 2000s, since like the mid to late 2000s. So
I would love to point out on this TNA episode, there is a match that right before the match, there is a Disco Inferno promo. The match is a Fat Elvis against Shark Boy.
See what I mean?
You make a great point. I agree. This match was overbooked. It was. Why is Larry Zbyszko here?
Mm.
I
Well, yeah,
don't
I mean,
think that's
TNA is,
answered.
like I was saying, TNA has never been a well managed company for lengthy periods of time. There's a reason the phrase LOL TNA exists, and yet through it all, AJ Styles shined. Like it's kind of perfect that TNA is where we'll have AJ Styles' low point, and we won't get to his apex mountain until he leaves TNA. Like even Mr. TNA didn't peak in TNA.
This very much has the stylings of the Vince Russo era TNA that none of us like.
Mm-hmm.
This is Jeff Jarrett, Vince Russo, but it still shows that I really liked AJ Styles and Jarrett in this match when they were allowed to work.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, they did some good stuff. There was some pretty good work in here.
Take out like the Harris brothers, the ref bumps, Sonny Siaki, the rest of the run-ins, like Dusty Rhodes, I think was there too for some reason.
It's a long list of things you're taking out here.
But take those out. It's a good match. But as you said, it's a long lit list. It shows that he's there. He was ready for opportunity, but the time is wrong for stylistically wise as good it was, and just for how TNA was booked.
Mm-hmm.
There were people. Jarrett couldn't give up the title because he was afraid that the guy is just going to jump as soon as he wins it. That's always was this thing. That's why Monty Brown never won the title. It's why Abyss was a one-time champion. It's why so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But did you have any other thoughts on this overbooked mumbo jumbo?
No, I just think it's more of a peek into TNA than at AJ Styles. So we'll see. We'll see in there.
Which brings us to the encountering of the great rival.
No, you're skipping one.
I skipped one. Did I? I did. Main event establishment. This is, of course, we talked about how the last match was the first time we got to see AJ wrestle for this 10 pounds of gold, the top title in most of the professional wrestling history. Mm-hmm. This time he gets to win the most prestigious title in wrestling history.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This one is Jeff Jarrett versus Raven versus AJ Styles.
Yeah, and the first half of this match is just Raven and Jeff Jarrett having a pretty traditional wrestling match, and AJ randomly interrupting with flippy shit. Like it'll just be like Jarrett and Raven exchanging holds and doing punches, and then AJ comes just flying from out of frame and fucking kicks Jarrett in the back of the head or something. Like it's really interesting to see the generational divide so clearly in a match.
And even then, it's like it's the same thing of like how it's booked. It's still this Vince Russo thing, but this is Russo kind of letting the boys work.
This does get to Russo at his Russoiest, which is putting himself on TV.
Of course, true, yeah.
But yeah, no, there is, for the first bit of this match, they do really get to just work, and it is really interesting to see Jarrett and Raven do much more traditional style wrestling versus AJ coming in and taking over with the flippy shit. And it's really kind of interesting to see that in how like this match ends in a veteran of the sport, a second generation tradition, or is he third generation in wrestling, whatever, however many generations in Jeff Jarrett is, traditional wrestler putting over a young high flying up and comer. Like yeah, I know Jeff Jarrett won the NWA title a lot and he holds it for a lot of this, but you have to hand it to him. In this match, Jeff Jarrett passes the torch to a new generation, a new style, pun intended.
I mean, he doesn't hold it for most of the rest of the year. AJ drops it in October back to Jeff Jarrett, and Jarrett
Yeah.
holds it until April back to AJ, and then it becomes kind of a this happens until TNA loses the NWA title.
Yeah. I mean,
But
that's all I have on this one.
I do want to tell the ending. It was the first real qualm I have with AJ's career is how it was kind of treated. We just win the main event title, your world title, the NWA world title, may I add.
Mm-hmm.
And the spotlight is on somebody else.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like during his OE career, this was almost a constant problem.
During his TNA career, you said?
This is a OE career, I think, to me.
His
We'll get to
WWE
later.
career as well. Yeah.
Because in TNA, he was, especially the late half TNA, he was in stables. He was in a feud where it's like he was in really bad feuds. He was in situations where he shouldn't have been in for being the face of your company.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris Jericho, Omos, the Club. Am I missing anybody?
Yeah, but the Club, almost those kind of things he was bringing up other people. I think the difference here, because like with both of those, the spotlight was still on AJ Styles, and it was almost trying. They were trying to, they were hoping that by putting Omos in that spotlight with him, when Omos stepped out, the spotlight would stay on Omos, and it didn't really. But I get your point with Jericho, but that was a little bit into his. That was his first like feud, right?
Yeah.
Was the Y2 AJ thing?
But it really felt like that. It really felt like, especially in the tag team, it felt like they were just shoehorning Chris Jericho into what could have been an almost immediate title level feud.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
Because Triple H versus AJ would be a great story you could build.
Yeah, but that one I think you could defend by I don't know when they found out they would get AJ Styles. So it might not be shoehorning Jericho into it. It might be shoehorning AJ Styles into a WrestleMania plan that was probably mostly in place when AJ signed his contract. So I think you could kind of defend that one. If the Jericho thing happened that summer or the next WrestleMania, I think you could have an argument there. But with it being right off the bat, it might have just been how much of WrestleMania was already kind of put together. But here though, like it is really a young guy wins the title and is immediately overshadowed by Sting. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But also it's fucking Sting. Like,
I mean, yeah, fair, good point.
It's not like they were trying to overshadow him with, like even somebody who's kind of good, like Dean Malenko, who's like a good wrestler, but shouldn't overshadow AJ at this moment. Like, it's fucking Sting.
Yeah, good point.
I'm not trying to defend shitty booking. I'm just saying, like, you can kind of see what they were getting.
Yeah. And if at that, we're going to move on now to encountering the great rival. As with Cena and Randy Orton, every wrestler has that one guy who you just can't get enough of seeing them beat the snot out of each other. And for AJ, there was a couple choices you can make, but only one of them really made the most sense. That's Samoa Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, there are a couple other people that you could have argued for. John Cena even being one of them. But yeah, it's got to be Samoa Joe.
And we'll get to plenty of other Samoa Joe later, but we're going to start with Sacrifice 2005.
Mm-hmm.
The
Early TNA pay per view. I think this is the first year TNA was doing a more WWE like schedule with Impact and with pay per views with different names and whatnot.
this is the first like full calendar year they're doing it. The first one was end of 04. But this is another
Yeah, them getting into it. Yeah,
another technically another big time thing for AJ to be facing for is another thing on the line. It's the 2005 Super X Cup, also known as the Christopher Daniels Invitational.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, because Christopher Daniels is on commentary for this.
Which is another part of the great rivalry I do want to talk about a little bit. Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles and Samoa Joe were always connected with each other at some point during their TNA runs.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very like, to compare to the last wrestler's journey, it's very Cena, Orton, Batista. How they were always all kind of connected through the OVW thing. These guys were all very connected through just kind of being that generation for TNA. And it's it is kind of interesting that AJ had ascended to being a world champion. So, you need to keep having goals, right? You need to keep having obstacles in front of you to keep being successful. And Samoa Joe was AJ's next obstacle. Like, AJ proved that the next generation would change wrestling, but how does AJ prove he is the face of this generation? Because there's a guy who can do very similar things to what AJ does and has a much more traditional face of wrestling build. You know what I mean? He's a much bigger guy. And so by beating Samoa Joe, you kind of establish that. And so throughout this match, I thought it was interesting how much he plays Samoa Joe's game. Like, he doesn't do as much flippy shit as he should, and that was kind of like an early indicator to me that he probably wasn't going to win this match. It's because it was Samoa Joe's type of match. And then he fails to win. Like, he fails to prove that the small guys can take over the business in this moment, when faced with a big man that can move like them. So Samoa Joe kind of becomes this monkey on the back for AJ, and whereas everything else with this revolution is very kind of blurs the line of kayfabe, this is the real test for the wrestling character AJ Styles. Everything else is AJ Styles, the man and the wrestler, trying to carve this path, but this is really where we get into the character AJ Styles and his strife. What do you think?
I agree that if what you said, this is Samoa Joe, especially this time, was the big bad, and AJ was the guy everybody got behind. He was the fans. He was the fans guy.
Yeah,
and it's not winning the first contest, but bearing in mind interference for Christopher Daniels, which I'm not going to be upset about because of what it leads to. But as you said, it's he couldn't get over the hump yet. He has to build to that.
Yep.
Which brings us to.
Well, do you want to get into the categories here?
That's what I was going to say.
The point where we get the categories. Yep. Okay.
So up is now the category. We're taking a break from the matches. We had to see the one. We're going to talk about some categories here. So we're going to start in the same order
on our regular classic reviews, but it's a whole different list of things to encompass more of a career.
So in the same order as the Cena one, we're going to start with the Hall of Fame bust title. This is the look at Cooperstown. They have the cap. They have the teams and the description of what they did in their career. Very similar to that. what would the AJ Styles Hall of Fame bust have?
Mm-hmm.
What championship would be what championship would he have?
So I immediately narrowed it down to 4 potential options. We have the 2007 to 2010 version of the TNA World Championship. We have the 2002 to 2007 version of the X Division title. We have the 4th version of the IWGP World Championship, and we had the black version of the modern WWE Championship. He is Mr. TNA, so I narrowed. So from there, I narrowed it down to the 2 TNA options, and I think there's a pretty equal argument to both. But I think the world title was just a better design, so I'm going with that 2007 to 2010 TNA world title as the
Yeah,
AJ Styles Hall of Fame title.
I would definitely agree with you. I would 100% put that 2009-2010 TNA world title in and as that for sure.
Yep.
The next one is biggest missed dream match.
Yep, kind of explains itself. I think it's Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
I pointed out
yeah.
earlier how you can kind of track what AJ's doing back to Shawn Michaels, and with AJ kind of really breaking out at the same time as Shawn's like comeback run, like a 2005 2006 somewhere in there, AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels match, I think would have been really awesome.
Even like
Do
a
you have-
2009 AJ Styles HBK one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, anywhere from like 05 to 2009. Yeah, wherever you want to put it. Do you have another one or?
I really would agree with you there. That's the one that came to mind right away.
Mm.
Is Shawn Michaels. I don't think there's really another one because of how his career went.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the 2000s big WWE guys he faced.
Yeah, maybe
And the ones
like
he did,
Prime Mystico,
yeah,
like
just
Mystico
TNA
before
working
he
for
goes to
AAA,
WWE.
like
Yeah,
2007
yeah, somewhere in
when
there.
they went to CMLL in the Cybernetico. He did not face Mystico.
So there you go. There's another one.
But that takes us on to the next category. It is the biggest career what if. What is the biggest what if for AJ?
This was harder to think of. Um, but mine is what if WWE makes him go through NXT? Uh,
Mm.
matches with old rivals like Samoa Joe, Shinsuke, or maybe not rivals, but like people he's rivals and other people he's crossed paths with, like Samoa Joe, Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Roode, Eric Young, and then new faces like Gargano, Roderick Strong, Ciampa, Sami Zayn. Um, and just how would that change his main roster run? Because he wouldn't have faced Cena immediately that summer. And with Cena kind of becoming part time, who knows when we get that match or if we really ever do. He doesn't win the title in 2016. Or maybe if WWE was like, hey, we're going to put you in NXT, he doesn't go to WWE at all. He stays in New Japan for a few more years and ends up potentially on the first AEW roster in place of or alongside Chris Jericho, and we get matches with like Hangman, MJF, Orange Cassidy, John Moxley, Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, people like that. So I think it would be interesting if WWE was going to stick to what they made, like Samoa Joe, who is, as we said, a very similar career path to AJ, if they made him go to NXT.
Mine is very similar to yours. The timing is just different. Because yours is about him is that we run after all the TNA stuff happened.
Yeah,
To
when he
me, that isn't as big as mine in like my opinion because
Mhm.
mine changes everything about his career.
Okay.
Everything about his career is different. In 2002, before TNA, before even Ring of Honor, before everything in his career he ever did, winning those titles, going to Japan, proving himself in Japan, and becoming the face that runs the place.
Uh-huh.
WWE offered AJ Styles a developmental contract, which would require him to move to HWA. But because AJ is such a family man, his wife was going to college in the area they lived, he turned it down. What if AJ signs the WWE in 2002?
That is interesting. Because even if they weren't going to send him to OVW, he probably would have kind of been slotted in with that Cena, Orton, Batista class. Like he would have came up around the same time. Huh. That is interesting.
I'll just pull up a random show from that company in 2002 really fast.
From
See what
HWA?
they have. Yeah.
Okay. But
so
even then, do we get to see AJ Styles? Like, does he break out like Shawn Michaels did and still become multi-time world champion, or does he fizzle out in the cruiserweight division and end up in TNA anyway? Oh God, who's on here?
Mike fucking Awesome.
Nice. AJ Styles, Mike Awesome would have ripped.
So we're looking at Mike Awesome. We're looking at Jamal and Rosie. We're looking at Horace Hogan, unfortunately. Nigel McGuinness, Shannon Moore. Not the OVW people, but like
the other side. You bring up a good point. What if AJ Styles was in 3 Minute Warning? And I think that's an interesting place to take this.
I honest to God, I love Jamal. I love Jamal. So
so it is interesting that the idea of that, because I think there's probably a 50-50 chance in that he ends up in TNA anyway, or that he is Shawn Michaels 2.0 and ends up, world champion by 2006 or 2007, Fuck, dude, AJ and Eddie Guerrero. Oh, that's a dream match that we would have missed. That maybe even rivals the AJ Shawn dream match. AJ and Eddie Guerrero would have been awesome. Like prime, like 2005. It might have happened on the Indies when Eddie was out of WWE, but like 2004, 2005, AJ and Eddie Guerrero would have been crazy.
Yeah, that'd be close. That we're talking like 2002, 2001. Never happened though.
Okay.
That brings us to our next category, the best promo. AJ, known for having some promos that missed and hit and missed. But what was his best promo to you?
So when I immediately thought of this was harder than the Cena one, because AJ, I think, is a good promo. Like, I think he's a pretty consistent, good promo. Cena is elite, right? So it was tough, and so where I ended up landing actually incorporates Cena. I think it was the contract signing back and forth they had before the match at Money in the Bank. That's where I'm going to land. I thought that was. I went back and I rewatched it after once I thought of it, and that's where I landed.
There was a time in WWE in TNA where it felt like it was all going to shit, and most of that was because they brought in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff.
Yeah,
but I will not. I cannot lie. The back and forth between AJ Styles and Eric Bischoff about how AJ is defending how TNA is, how Bischoff and Hogan are going to kill it, and Bischoff telling him that TNA wasn't shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was immortal against AJ. For some reason, that's AJ's best friend with me.
Okay, yeah, I could see that being pretty good. I think Eric Bischoff, for all of his problems, he's pretty good on the mic. I mean, that's how he got into wrestling, was by interviewing and commentating and stuff. So, I could see that being pretty good. I don't know if I've seen that one off the top of my head. I probably have at some point, but I don't remember right now off the top of my head. But yeah,
it was 2011. You don't go back and watch it if you don't have to. Most iconic merch item. So
I don't have one this time.
The best AJ Styles was in TNA for too long, and AJ Styles and TNA merch sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you need to pull up the AJ Styles cum shirt?
Nope, I don't think you have to. I think you described it perfectly just now.
I feel
I have an answer to this.
I feel like the gloves are, to me, what it is.
That's my answer too. It's the P1 gloves that make the logo. Yeah,
because his shirts weren't anything special in WWE. Mm-hmm. But the gloves, he always
solid ones. I had a couple of them back when I was a kid, back in middle school.
I don't know if I ever had one. Just saying a lot.
I think I had two. I had a black one with like blue text, and I had a red one with like the black P1 logo on it, if I remember right.
But he starts wearing them in 2007-8, and he wears them the rest of the time. And
yeah, so I think it's very similar to what I picked last time, which was Cena's wristbands. Like it's a very similar vibe and idea.
And when he leaves in Atlanta after his retirement ceremony, he leaves the gloves in the ring.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
The next category is real sports comparison.
Yes, our
so who to you is the best real, quote unquote, real athlete comparison to AJ Styles?
I went Steph Curry. Steph, much like AJ, like Steph wasn't the first great 3-point shooter, but he was the face of the 3-point shooting revolution. And same goes for AJ as a small, high-flying main eventer. He wasn't the first to do it. Like I said many times, credit goes to Shawn Michaels there, I think. But he really revolutionized it and then made a world where every small guy has a chance to be a main eventer. And Steph took 3-point shooting, which, like, obviously Ray Allen and Reggie Miller were great, but he revolutionized it to where now, like, every little kid wanted to be a 3-point shooter. So I think that's my comparison there, is Steph Curry.
Mine is not a current athlete by any measure of the word current. But because of how his career went and how he went from the face of the not biggest league to coming into the biggest league and changing it, setting it on fire, it's Warren Moon to me.
Warren Moon, that's a really good, that's a good pull. I like that. Yeah,
we're ball knowers here. So
yeah, you're right. You're good. That's a good one, and that's also, again, revolutionizing because Warren Moon broke the mold by being a black quarterback. Like that, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah,
not a black undrafted from the CFL, literally.
Yeah,
broke the mold in every way. How AJ broke the mold as being a not WWE small dude winning titles.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think those are both good comps we have here.
So we'll go back into the matches now. We're going to go with the low points. against Christopher Daniels, jumping to 2012 at
Yeah. Is there
Destination
any?
X.
I mean, it's a big jump. Is there anything you want to recap from 05 to 2012, or do you want to just get into it?
I didn't even think about that, but yes, there definitely is. We are looking at his runs with the X Division title multiple times, 2 tag team champions with Christopher Daniels. He won the titles with Tomko as well. A really crappy TNA television run, the Legends title run, which was pretty good. The Main Event Mafia, which I feel like we have to talk about at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his indie run, he PW champion during this time here, was during the time we're skipping. He was always the around the top and involved in these high level stories, but the titles never came until '09.
Mm-hmm.
He won the TNA World Heavyweight title twice.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We brought that up. I mean, yeah. He's you would think it'd be more, but NWA and TNA, he's only like a 5-time world champion there. Where when you think of AJ Styles and TNA, you would think it'd be, much higher in the way that Cena or Randy or some of these other guys in WWE got that, but then we arrive here at his low point. Oh, also in that time we're skipping were the two awesome triple threats with Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels.
Yes, the month after the last event for him, we were looking at is
And
that
then they ran it back a few years later.
that triple threat. But
Mm.
this is the low point of TNA, as well as the low point of AJ Styles, which
Yeah.
to me sound like they have something in common.
Yeah. I mean, really, yeah, probably. I mean, he's very tied to that company. It's very um I don't even really it's such a crazy thing how tied to TNA AJ is that I can't even really think of a comparison to anything else. You know what I mean? Like it really is like if TNA was doing well, AJ was doing well, and if it wasn't, AJ was down, and this is the lowest point. Um, and it is kind of in that just like Cena, art imitates life in a way, and that the low point is true in the ring as well as outside of kayfabe. Outside of kayfabe, the writing wise, the match right before this was part of TNA's Bound for Glory series, in which
Ugh.
AJ Styles, the face of TNA, had 0 points. A big fat fucking zero. Um,
I'm patiently waiting. I'm patiently waiting for you to mention the storyline so I can go on a fucking rant.
I was about to say, on top of that, Shane, would you like to explain the storyline he's involved in? That
No,
is him losing the tag team championship.
oh fucking so rest in peace to the poor actress that had to do this. Oh fuck.
Hmm.
At some random Impact Wrestling show, they bring out this random woman. Um, after it's revealed that AJ and Dixie Carter have an affair, something, and then this random woman comes out and she introduces herself, and I will never forget the words that she said to introduce herself because they're so fucking random. I'm Claire Lynch, and I'm an addict. AJ was involved with the terrible, horrible, very bad, not good, awful, more words to describe it than I can ever imagine. Claire Lynch storyline where he cheats on his wife not once but twice, which, if you know anything about AJ Styles, you know is the most deeply untrue storyline that could ever happen. And the photos were bad, the promos were bad, the baby doll was bad. And The worst part is that there's a stipulation to this match that is not on Cage Match. But to really understand why this is the low point in AJ Styles' career, you need to know. Jayden, do you know what that stipulation is?
I did. Let me see if I wrote it down. No, I was too busy writing down the fucking insane details of this storyline to write down the stipulation. What was the stipulation again?
If AJ Styles loses, he has to admit that he is the father of Claire Lynch's baby. If he wins, he gets a paternity test to prove that he's not the daddy. That's what Crop says.
So potentially within this storyline, just thinking about the writing here, potentially there's an outcome where AJ loses, has to claim ownership of a baby that maybe isn't even his without getting to get the paternity test. He was wrestling for the right to get a paternity. You know what? Okay.
Like, there's more. Jayden, there's more. There's more.
Yes, continue, I guess.
The next episode of Impact after this pay-per-view, another random woman comes out during the Christopher Daniels AJ Styles promo.
They ran it back.
It is Claire Lynch's lawyer who reveals that the entire thing was made up.
Okay, so here's what this feels like. This and we'll get to what this means to AJ's career in a second, but we have to talk about how fucking crazy this is. So it feels like they were brainstorming ideas, right? Somebody threw out, what if we did something similar to the custody of Dominic storyline? And then from that moment, they made the wrong decision at every turn, and then we ended up here. This is an asinine storyline, dude. This is crazy.
AJ has an affair with Dixie Carter. AJ and Dixie help a woman out of drug addiction. AJ fucks a Swiss woman. She's pregnant. Psych. Everything is fake because the fans found her real name and harassed her off the internet and off of TNA.
Wow.
And again, fully just rest in peace to Julia Riley is her name. She passed away last year. Mm-hmm. She was Claire Lynch. Deserved far better than to be the scourge of TNA fans for disgustingly bad writing.
Mm-hmm. And that's obviously not on her at all. She was, I'm sure she was doing. I mean, I haven't watched every episode of Impact from this storyline, but I'm sure she was just doing the best she could with what she was given.
Yeah, do you know who the booker was at this point in time and where he's currently employed?
Was it was it Billy Corgan?
Bruce Pritchard. Brother love. This is
currently in WWE.
Bischoff's.
Wait, isn't he the one that in the WWE Unreal show it was revealed that he pitched Jey Uso to win the Rumble?
So the man has no good ideas. He had Brother Love, and that was it.
Yeah, wow. And he had a fine podcast. The episodes were a little long, but his podcast was at least sort of interesting. I'll give him that.
I have a headache from this fucking storyline, dude.
Yeah, well then I guess let's take it back to AJ Styles. this is kind of where there's this crossroads of kind of this is where words matter, because the revolution that TNA starts in or the AJ Styles starts in TNA. AJ didn't take that away from TNA. TNA forced that out. AJ doesn't leave TNA. TNA forces AJ Styles out. Like, they do run everything so poorly that AJ doesn't have a choice but to leave. And I think we'll really kind of get into that in the next match, which is the last TNA match we'll be talking about.
Oh, and I can't. In that next match, I will love to tell you about why exactly he left TNA. Because it is this match. If you watch it by itself and do not pay a single attention to the storyline at hand, it is one of the best matches of his career.
Oh, it's a great match.
It is a fantastic match. Forget that it's for a pregnancy test. No, a paternity test. Forget that it's for a Maury show, and it's an incredible match.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for me is that I know in the back of my mind it is about Claire Lynch, and I can't stand that.
Yes.
Legitimately, it is a match. It is a match-ruining storyline.
It is one of those unfortunate. It's the similarity I think of is what was the name of the girl in the Kane Triple H storyline?
Katie Vick.
Katie Vick. It reminds me of Katie Vick. It's like if Triple H and Kane had like a really awesome match after all of that. And you would have to go back to watch and be like, damn, these guys are kind of cooking, but this storyline is fucking awful. What am I watching? Kind of thing. All right, you want to get on to the next one, or do you want to keep?
I would love to.
Dwelling on
with speed, please. The next match is the defining turn and the reinvention.
Mm-hmm.
So the defining turn, think Stone Cold at Mania 13. Think The Rock when he joins the Nation. Think Cena when he becomes a heelish and
for Cena, really, it's when he turns
face
face out of the Thugonomics. Yeah. When Thugonomics goes from being a heel to a face thing. Yeah.
Think Kenny Omega turning on AJ Styles.
Yeah, really. Yeah. It's really that. Yeah, that kind of
stuff.
And
then reinvention too. This is coming out of his low point and like a phoenix.
Yeah, it's the change you have to make to redeem yourself. Yeah, it's kind of the low point, the reinvention, and the redemption will always kind of be a trilogy. In the low point necessitates reinvention, which causes redemption.
Mm-hmm.
So it yeah. This is a different case in that they are one and the same with the defining turn and reinvention.
If I'm not mistaken, this is Lone Wolf Evil Ways AJ Styles.
Yes, this is the Lone Wolf turn.
Yes, this is Main Event Mafia. So a little background of this TNA era because I know it. This is Aces and Eights. This is the worst stable of all time, Aces and Eights, and the new Main Event Mafia, and AJ's the Lone Wolf because Kurt doesn't want him to join the good fight of the Mafia and take on the Dudley Boys and their cronies.
Mm-hmm.
And really, to me, the reinvention is not this match. To me, it's the YouTube clip that we've all seen from this time period of AJ Styles' best entrance, where he walks out to Evil Ways, stops halfway through like the ramp, and then Get Ready to Fly starts playing, and the crowd goes fucking bananas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was just kind of the big match most closely related to the turn. You know, this was assigning a match to something.
That's
Sometimes
true.
it's
Like
always,
I get. If it wasn't, we'd be spending 20 minutes on a promo segment.
yeah. And also, you know,
Which
if we're doing somebody's TNA career, it's always fun to get Kurt Angle involved.
honest to God, I could spend 20 minutes talking about promos from 2012, 2013 TNA. August 1 warning, perhaps. Um, but this match is, lack of a better term, phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really another really great. That's kind of the consistency here through all of the TNA bullshit is that it's always a great match,
It's to
and
all the
that's
TNA
why we love AJ
turds.
Styles. Yeah,
AJ Styles has been putting
um,
on incredible matches.
yeah. Let me see here. We kind of already covered a lot of my notes. Um, this does kind of feel like this is where AJ had to face the hard truth that in order to reach his full potential, he would have to leave like the promotion he grew up in, basically. Um, and it's almost like a guy kind of realizing that to win the title, he has to leave the team that drafted him. And before he did that, though, he did make a change to really kind of market what he could be, I think. And so he turned heel as the lone wolf. And he made a statement to TNA. This version of AJ Styles is different. He wears a lot of black. He's growing his hair out. He's going to lead the Bullet Club and become world champion of two other major companies. Like, I think this is the defining turn and the reinvention because, like I just said, this is the version of AJ that joins the Bullet Club.
I agree. I can see that.
In Bullet Club tradition, he does get a little sillier, but this is really like the core idea of the guy that's going to be in the Bullet Club.
I would still make the change of the reinvention is actually the 10-man tag team match of the Midnight Mafia and AJ Styles Aces and Eights, but I'm so happy we didn't have to watch that.
Yeah, I do try to make this enjoyable if I
Because
can.
then I would have to explain August 1 warning. And I don't want to if I don't have to. That might take a half hour.
Yeah.
So before we get to the next match, I kind of want to go on a little AJ tangent here about the last couple months of his TNA run. They were not great. They go overseas. He faces Bubba Ray twice. His last great TNA match was a match against Sonata for the TNA title in Wrestle One, which
His last great
unfortunately,
TNA match isn't even in TNA.
yeah, it's not because the
How
next
LOL TNA is that?
because 2 weeks later on Impact Wrestling in a unification match, they have Magnus go over AJ Styles, and that's it. AJ's gone. TNA offered AJ Styles a hefty pay cut in his next contract. AJ said hell no and left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And AJ would go and reinvent himself and redeem himself with the next match at Wrestling Nuntaku 2014 in New Japan Pro Wrestling against Kazuchika Okada. I'm so happy to be free from TNA.
And I'm sure AJ Styles was too.
I don't blame him. This is, I mean, what a match, dude. 2014 Okada is just like the next level.
This is where AJ Styles, like, maybe not even necessarily this match, but this run is where AJ Styles makes his argument for best in the world at the time, and also kind of where he makes his argument for best of all time. Like, this is where AJ Styles, I think, really enters those conversations. And this is the revolution now going global, and the king of the X division is now the king of the IWGP. And again, I think this is AJ kind of going on a side quest and starting another revolution, or maybe not even starting, but putting juice into another revolution. Because when Prince Devitt, also known as Finn Balor, for those of you who may not know, when he started the Bullet Club, he ushered in a new era of Gaijin in New Japan. And he passes that baton on to AJ Styles, and in typical AJ Styles fashion, he ran faster with it than anyone had ever thought possible. And he really kind of solidified a role that would be passed on to Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr., of kind of this modern idea of what a gaijin can be, and how far that can take you in New Japan. So he'd completely changed the game in the US already, and then he goes to Japan and completely changes it again. Also, he took that fucking badass picture in front of Mount Fuji, which will be on the screen right now. Fucking awesome. So, I don't know. What do you think of New Japan AJ? Excuse me, of New Japan AJ Styles.
Getting into New Japan when AJ was in it, it was just a pleasure and a half. I felt like I was legitimately just following AJ. But yeah, his run is just, it's different. It changes everything for New Japan. Without his run, I don't think the Bullet Club under Kenny is a big deal. I don't think Bullet Club is even led by Kenny without his run.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to no AEW.
Yeah, I mean, Bullet Club maybe dies when Prince Devitt leaves, if it wasn't for having AJ there to be the next.
Because look who else is in it. Pause.
Yeah, I mean,
pause. It. All right, I'm ready.
So we have to explain what that was. You have to. That was.
So we're recording this. It is currently 2 a.m. on April 1st.
Which sounds crazy, but the schedules of our lives that we live, we're up at this time normally. So
it didn't really register with me that it was April 1st. And I'm usually good at. I haven't been April Fooled in years. I was just April Fooled by a post on the Vikings subreddit saying that JJ McCarthy was traded to the Rams for a couple of picks. I immediately asked to pause the podcast to make sure it's true, because if that is a true trade, I thought, oh my God, we fleeced the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's April Fool's Day, so happy April Fool's Day. But
all right, now back into New Japan. Just kind of the role that new AJ kind of created, and also really helped internationalize New Japan. I think like this really kind of pushed New Japan to a Western audience. Like you said, even this is when you got into it was through AJ Styles. So a really big piece of AJ Styles.
And I mean, like,
of New Japan's history.
It would have internationalized at some point, just because how WWE was doing not great. The demand for an alternative and was growing and growing, and TNA couldn't do it. So,
and also just like where the internet and streaming services and technology was going, and it being more available was always going to happen. So, yeah,
because for everybody like Roy Lucier, who is tape trading in just never has like the biggest collection of tapes you've ever seen. There's the guys on Twitter who have only seen it clips on Twitter of as an example. Remember this being there. I got into it in 2016. I got into New Japan in 2016, technically, but it was 2015 footage.
Okay.
So I was watching all this AJ stuff on TNA as it was like happening in TNA in the New Japan like viewing world. While I was in WWE, and I remember liking this a lot more. But
yeah,
it's just such a special run that is so short that it deserves like you could watch all of the big matches and you'll be very happy with what you did that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which will bring us to the next match, the first match in WWE, and what a way to start off with in WWE with Apex Mountain. This is the cream of the crop. We are
powers. Yeah.
The peak of everything. We are going to Backlash 2016 live from Richmond, Virginia. Not a lot of people were there, but this match is just Dean Ambrose, AJ Styles is a phenomenal match.
Well, yeah,
again, lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's so important because, as we've said multiple times, like there is no major company in this world more adverse to the idea of a small guy world champion than WWE. And AJ kind of became the face of that movement in modern WWE. Who knows if, Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano get the opportunities in NXT they do without him. Who knows if Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso are world champions without what AJ does here. Like that's really kind of where this goes. And so he really took his quest to define professional wrestling all the way to the top, and he crushed it.
There is no company adverse to Jon Moxley versus AJ Styles for the world title than WWE was. And it's incredible that they let them run this on the same night as Heath Slater and Rhino against the Usos for SmackDown tag team titles.
Hey, okay. At the time, the Usos fucked.
At the time, I was like, at the time, I was an ECW nerd, so I marked out for Rhinos.
Yeah, people really liked Slater and Rhino. It was a really weird combination that worked for some reason and was pretty fun. So, yeah, I believe is that like the tournament finals to become the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Heath Slater and Rhino won. Crazy.
Oh, do you have anything else on this match?
No, I think, like I said, it's just kind of it's really his apex because the whole time he was carving a new path by being a small guy trying to conquer the wrestling world, but to do it in WWE is really like his biggest feat. It's really his biggest accomplishment is doing what he was doing in WWE. So now all that was left was his 280-pound Samoan albatross.
The next match is the climax of the Great Rivalry. We have Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles Super Showdown 2018. This was the final one-on-one big-time match between the two of them.
Yeah, I think that's important to know, is that the climax of the Great Rivalry isn't about when it was at its best, like the peak, but about the kind of what it all built to. The last time or the most important time they ever wrestle. And so, like for Cena and Orton, it was that TLC 2013 with 2 world titles on the line that both of them had history with. Like that was when the whole Cena Orton rivalry, that whole parallel of careers came to its head. This is where I think we find the climax of AJ and Samoa Joe. And it's a huge stage. I mean, it's a stadium show in WWE for the WWE Championship.
I mean, this is it's another great match between these two.
Yeah, it's also the most personal that their rivalry probably ever was. I will never forget, being in my dad's living room watching SmackDown the night that Samoa Joe went to AJ Styles' house. That was like thrilling television watching that happen.
Do you remember?
And it really made this match so interesting.
Do you remember when Samoa Joe just yelled "Wendy"?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that.
And it works because AJ Styles is a wife guy through and through.
Yeah, it works for the same reason that the Claire Lynch storyline didn't work. This is the exact opposite of that storyline.
All you needed to do was have a large Samoan man want AJ Styles' wife.
Yeah. Try to break into his house.
And not the other way around. If they had two,
that almost always works. I think of Triple H going to Randy Orton's house. I think of Dominic Mysterio getting arrested at Thanksgiving or whatever. I think of Pillman's Got a Gun. Like, going to the house works. Hangman burning down Swerve's house.
Home invasions work. Jayden Ginsweiler 2026.
Yes, home invasions work.
Which I would like to say, at the same time as the Claire Lynch storyline, Samoa Joe was, oh Lord, what the hell is he doing?
I think we talked about it, wasn't it? It was he was in the Bound for Glory series. He was like one of the top guys.
I'm just trying to make sure that it wasn't Nation of Violence really fast. Oh, it might have been.
I don't know. This is your era. What I was going to say though is that in this match, AJ walks away victorious. He conquered WWE. He conquered Samoa Joe. And like I said earlier, whereas most of the triumphs from AJ's career so far, most of those accomplishments have been bigger than kayfabe. They've been about kind of who he is and what he represents and taking that to the top. This was the triumph for the AJ character. This was the AJ character finally getting over the hump, defending his family, beating Samoa Joe on the biggest stage. And this was where they could really put their rivalry to rest. Even though we do have one more encounter with them, but one more encounter in our episode. I don't know how many times they wrestled after that, but
there is 2 more categories. We're going to start with finishing the great rivalry, the final match between AJ and Samoa Joe, featuring Mr. Booyaka, Rey Mysterio, from Monday Night Raw.
How fitting is it that AJ and Joe's final encounter was a triple threat?
It really feels like it always was going to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the same that Christopher Daniels was doing God knows what.
2019?
Pre-AEW 2019, though.
April 2019, yeah, before Double or Nothing. he's gone from Ring of Honor already, but he's probably just kind of doing indie dates here and there, getting ready for Double or Nothing.
A real booker would have booked Christopher Daniels in this. Just saying.
Yep. Yep. But the story of this match though wasn't about Joe and AJ here. The rivalry was over. This was about looking forward. Both guys trying to get to the Universal title. It wraps this rivalry up perfectly because our two gladiators are looking on to brighter futures. They fight each other for a different reason now with their past behind them. And it's kind of beautiful in that way. Like the animosity was still there, but they weren't Samoa Joe and AJ Styles bitter rivals. Much like Rey Mysterio at this time, they were Samoa Joe and AJ Styles title chasing veterans. There was this just kind of different air to them when they interacted here, where it didn't feel like it was about them. It was about something greater, and it was about moving past their rivalry and onto whatever's next for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I agree. I think this is not Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles to be sooner. This is just three legends kind of just going out there and putting on a
Mm-hmm.
show.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid match. I do remember.
Yeah.
I did when watching this. I remember seeing them announce this match on Twitter and being really excited that these three guys were together. Like tuning into Raw that night mostly for this match. Just because it was three guys that I really, really liked, including, my all-time favorite Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a big match for you. The Rares in it. That does bring us, however, to the finale versus Gunther at the Rumble. I did not watch this. I am not spending $30 a month to watch this.
I didn't rewatch it, but I did watch it a couple months ago when it happened. So, um,
before 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 we get into the match, I guess we'll do what we did against with Cena, where we'll just have like an open forum to talk about AJ Styles and what he meant to us. I'm going to start with you because mine will be longer.
okay. So I did kind of write a closing statement of sorts on AJ Styles just to kind of wrap up what he means to me. So, I guess here we go. For me, AJ Styles set me on a path to my wrestling fan destiny. I knew just barely enough about wrestling outside of WWE that AJ debuting at the Royal Rumble in 2016 was pretty big to me in the moment. But it means so much more to me now. Um, Falling in love with AJ Styles unlocked part of my brain that when I got in NXT led me to loving Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano, which led me to AEW and in turn Ring of Honor, New Japan, and much more. And now, because of AJ Styles, I love Will Ospreay. I love Hangman Adam Page. I love Kenny Omega. All because 10 years ago, I counted down from 10, the buzzer rang, and I fell in love with AJ Styles. He's in my top 10 favorites, but he's had the most influence on my taste as a wrestling fan, I think. And I'll always appreciate the 10 years I got to spend watching AJ Styles, as well as the 15 years of back catalog I've had the pleasure of perusing through. He is arguably one of the greatest wrestlers to ever grace the mat. And throughout everything, he made a new lane for professional wrestlers to follow. The impact of AJ Styles will be felt forever. The career of AJ Styles will be studied forever because AJ Styles is forever phenomenal. So the back to you, Shane.
So I want to take you back to 2009. I was playing, I was watching WWE vaguely. I was playing the games, and I got an Xbox 360 for Christmas. And one of the games I get is obviously it's the movie 2010. And I remember going online for the first time I'd ever been playing games, going online and playing against some random person from the UK, of all places. Um, and one of the games that he had in his library was TNA Impact. And for some, and because my cousins are old, I knew who Sting was.
Mhm.
So, and I saw that the icon of the game was Sting. So I'm like, oh, what's TNA? So I look it up next time I'm on a computer. It's wrestling. It's a real thing. It's so we're looking at like early 2010. So I'm just gonna go with like the first Monday Night Impact in 2010, the first one of 2010. And I am 8 years old, and one of the matches I see is AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle. At this point in time, the gate is unlocked. The key has been switched. The wrestling kind of became wrestling, not WWE, but wrestling became my thing. This leads me to buying a PWI after going to WrestleMania and finding out who the Briscoes are and finding out more about independent wrestling. And then come when around the time when Kevin Steen signs that we as Kevin Owens, I already knew who he was. And that was the first time it ever really happened. I mean, without AJ Styles, I don't know if that happens. Without AJ Styles, I'd probably not making this podcast. Without AJ Styles, I'm probably not watching wrestling anymore. Without AJ, I don't know who the hell I would be because, in my life, wrestling is such an important part of who I really am as a person, fortunately and unfortunately, because it is professional wrestling. But
Mhm.
it is just the impact on my life that AJ Styles has, and the fact that, like,
Impact
as a
City today.
fan, I followed his career on accident. I didn't mean to. It just kind of happened. It is, you know, when I was in 2017, when I was super just like in the shit, depressed all the time, and I didn't do anything other than like go in my room and sleep. The one thing that I really look forward to that early part of the year, and this is gonna be the dumbest thing you ever heard in your life coming out of my mouth right now. It was Backlash 2017, and
Was that Cena, Ambrose, AJ?
no,
Oh,
the AJ match. It was Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles, and I remember being super
okay.
excited about that. And it was legitimately that year was the worst year of my life. Um, and that is like that being one of the highlights, just how important AJ was to me as a wrestler. Um, and
Mhm.
of course, I do hate saying that, but that show was also Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton, and
Oh
I was so behind Jinder Mahal. I I was
no, okay,
so behind him winning that.
no,
I was
that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
that's what I
Looking
was going to
forward
get
to
to.
Backlash 2017 is fine, yeah, but yeah, being so behind Jinder Mahal.
I was a total smark at the time, and I really just I wanted to win so badly. I'm not on TV as he's holding up the title in the corner celebrating. My mom's like, "Come on, let's go!" And I'm doing this stupid fucking pose in my chair.
Yeah,
That is about what AJ means to me. We'll get to
it
we'll get
is
to
interesting that um 6 years apart he did the same thing for both of us. Because because like you said, TNA is what showed you professional wrestling, not WWE professional wrestling. And for me, AEW is that, but I don't think I get there without AJ, Adam Cole, and Johnny Gargano. Like without those three guys being in WWE and being in my life through WWE, I don't think I get there and get into AEW. So yeah, I think it is just kind of interesting the parallel he had 6 years apart for us, kind of completely different circumstances. But yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Gunther match, or do you want to just kind of end it there?
I think we should just end it there, because the Cena one we did it before the match.
Yeah.
I feel like it was
Because we
really
kind of
good.
knew. I think we were kind of holding out hope that this wouldn't be it for AJ. But the Atlanta show, the kind of the reports around his neck, kind of confirmed that it really was the end. And yeah, I think it's I mean, I do have something here for the Gunther match that would be potentially good to close on if you want to.
Let's go ahead and say it.
Okay. So here we are. 2 episodes, 2 Rey Mysterio cameos, 2 careers ending with Gunther. AJ Styles, like a major rival of his just a month before him, comes up against the ring general. Unlike Cena, though, AJ didn't know his fate. Cena fought like a man trying to go out on top. AJ fought like a man trying not to go out. He fought valiantly, but ultimately, like all warriors do, Steph Curry reference, he fell. However, his mission has been accomplished. He created a world where guys like Seth Rollins, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega can be world champions on the biggest stages. AJ Styles walked into a wrestling scene dominated by Hollywood Hulk Hogan, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And behind him, he's leaving a scene dominated by Hangman Adam Page, Will Ospreay, and the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes. He may have gone out at the hand of a traditional big guy, the very archetype he was always fighting uphill against, but at least he can rest assured that because of him, there are opportunities out there for guys other than the Gunther types. So I think all we can say is thank you to AJ Styles and wish him a happy life post wrestling. I do want to ask before we get out of here, who do you think is most likely going to be the next episode of the show we do? Sitting here right now.
Oh, I mean, the thing is with like how old the WWE is, the main event WWE is, I don't know about them. AEW, I could see Kenny. The problem is most of these guys who are international, we can't do.
Yeah, it's harder to find some of them.
And like Kenny, be hard.
Kenny, I think we could get done.
The early stuff probably not as much, but like yeah, I can see it probably.
We could probably just kind of start in New Japan and then call it from there. But
no, not a chance. No way.
Okay. All right, we'll figure it out. My guess, unfortunately, I think I would, if I had to bet on it, I would bet Rey Mysterio is the next one we do.
Yeah, I would say Rey.
He's on his 12th, 13th set of knees. Like he's
give or take.
Even for WWE's main event scene, he's old. He's the last guy really going. Like him and Orton are like the last guys of their era really going. So yeah, I could definitely see it being Rey Mysterio. So I think that's where it is if you want to take us out of here.
And that is it for the Wrestler's Journey. We will be back to our normal schedule soon. And just enjoy wrestling.